Yume Nikki, or Dream Diary, is an RPG maker game with a strange premise and an unclear story. Today on the Panopticon Theatre, we will explore some of the popular theories about what could be happening in this dreamlike game. Yume Nikki was created by secretive and enigmatic developer kyukyu-kun in 2004 using the RPG Maker 2003 software. The game has you play as silent protagonist Madotsuki, a girl usually depicted as being anywhere from 8 to 20-ish years old. Little to nothing is actually known about her, and that may not even be her real name, as it's not a word used as a name in Japanese. It means something along the lines of windowed, perhaps reflecting her role as the player's window to the dream world. Madotsuki lives in a small apartment room. It has a desk with her diary, which is used to save the game, a TV that receives no channels and can only be used to play a Famicom game, and her bed in which she can fall asleep. There's also an exit to the balcony, on which it can be seen that the room is pretty high up. If an attempt is made to leave the room via the door, Madotsuki will simply shake her head. However, upon sleeping, Madotsuki will arrive in the dream version of her room, starting on the balcony, and she will now be able to leave via the door, leading into a room known as the Nexus. This room is the central hub for all other locations, containing 12 other doors leading to strange dream worlds. From there, many different places can be accessed. The generally assumed primary objective of the game is to gather 24 effects. These items provide special abilities, allow passage to other areas, or change Madotsuki's appearance. Once gathered, these effects can be dropped in the Nexus and lead to the ending scene of the game. Once all the effects are placed, Madotsuki must wake up and go onto the balcony in the real world. There, a set of stairs has been moved in front of the railing, from which Madotsuki jumps off the side. It goes dark, there's a thud, and we see two jellyfish dance by a red splatter in the darkness. There's no dialogue, little to no text, and very little explanation of really anything that's happening during the game. It's entirely left up to speculation. So, let's look at some of the most popular theories as to what could be happening. As a note, we'll only be discussing content in the core game, not any of the manga, new game, or spin-off games. Rather than talking about full theories, I'm going to discuss some themes and symbolism and how they're interpreted, then we can put some parts together at the end. Madotsuki in the waking world will not leave her room. She shakes her head when you approach the door. Here's some potential reasons why. She's locked in there from the outside. Madotsuki's family may have for some reason locked her in. Perhaps they are abusive and neglectful, preferring to shut away their daughter or have even forgotten about her. Or perhaps she has some sort of reason that she can't be allowed to interact with others and it's safer to keep her inside. A contagious illness or a sickness worsened by going out, which could be supported by the towel effect in which she wraps herself up in a towel and sneezes. Or perhaps she is somehow dangerous to others. Another possibility is that this isn't even Madotsuki's house. She's been kidnapped or otherwise trapped and is locked in this room, unable to leave. Some suggest she may be locked in for legal reasons. There's a few theories relating to murder, and she may be under house arrest. She's locked in there from the inside. Many theories posit Madotsuki as a hermit, hikikomori, or shut in. She refuses to leave not because something outside is stopping her, but something inside is. Either she's afraid of something out there, due to trauma or otherwise, or she's afraid of how the world might react to her. Many dream worlds include twisted, body-like creatures or visuals. Perhaps she has some sort of visual deformity that means she's afraid of how people would perceive or treat her. Likewise, some of the effects, such as fat, long hair, blonde hair, and buyo-buyo, make changes to her appearance with no other effect, suggesting she may be unhappy with her looks in some way. Likewise, she may have already suffered some trauma in the world. We'll go into the theories on that in a bit. Additionally, there may be nothing else out there. Some theories suggest the world may have ended beyond the door. The waking room isn't real, and she's still dreaming. Madotsuki has her eyes closed throughout the whole game, possibly suggesting she's still sleeping, and when she jumps off at the end, the jellyfish could suggest she never leaves the dream world at all. These jellyfish do appear in the dream world as well. Let's explore some frequent themes and how they may relate to these potentialities. A theme and visual that occurs very frequently within Yume Nikki is the body. Deformation is a common trend. Aside from the previously mentioned effects that change Medotsky's appearance, many NPCs and background elements seem to have physical deformities. Eyes are a frequent contender. Many eyes can be seen in the floors across worlds. Many NPCs have unusual eyes. Some have strabismic eyes, meaning their eyes look in different directions, such as Seiko Masada-sensei. An NPC nicknamed Mars-san is a giant eyeball weeping a weird green fluid. There are some rare NPCs nicknamed Eye People that gather in a crowd. Monoko, a monochrome girl in an area called the White Desert, has both strabismic eyes and also one leaking eye. Theories posit that Medotsky has some kind of issue with her eyes. She never opens her eyes in-game. The only exception is when using the cat effect. Her eyes can open when she meows, showing them as red, although this is likely from the effect. She may be blind or significantly vision impaired, which might suggest why her dream worlds are so bizarre. This is her interpreting the world as well as she can. She may have some visual issue with her eyes, such as strabismus or hypertropia, leading to discomfort with her own appearance and how people might view her. Or she may have suffered some kind of eye infection, hence the frequent weeping and discolored eyes, perhaps leading to bullying. Another frequent theme is the appearance of sexual organs. Many elements are phallic or yonic. An NPC called kyukyu-kun is a large phallic thing that can be found on a stairwell. This stairwell is accessed by using the knife effect to cut open a zipper. Kyukyu-kun rubs its hand slowly on the stairwell with a smiling expression. Walking further past this guy leads to an event called Face, where a violently flashing image takes over the screen, can't be skipped for 10 seconds, and forces Medotsky awake. Some interpret this as genitalia-esque, though I personally don't super see it. And finally, there's the physical twisting and deformities. Many characters, such as Monoko, the thing with the quivering jaw, and the bloody touching monster, yep, that's what people call it, feature extra limbs, particularly arms. There's also the various body parts scattered in the eyeball world. A few particular scenes seem to relate heavily to traffic or vehicle accidents. To get the stoplight effect, Medotsky must find a corpse lying on a road in a wooded area, nicknamed Shitai-san, or basically Mr. Corpse. It looks very much as if Shitai-san has been the victim of a car accident, especially since she got the stoplight from him. Notably, jellyfish, just like the ones at the end of the game, appear very near to him. The stoplight also has some odd effects on NPCs. It usually just halts them, but some have unusual reactions. For example, this effect causes Monoko to turn into her more twisted-looking state, with extra arms and a stomach injury. There's also the spaceship crash event, where you board a spaceship with Seiko Masada-sensei, and if you sleep in the bed, there's a chance the ship will crash with flashing emergency lights and a panicking Masada. You'll land on the area called Mars. Linking back to the body themes, another commonly noted topic is that of gender identity. The phallic and yonic imagery present throughout, the effects that change appearance, and the fact that a duplicate Medotsky can be found in a closet all add to this. One side of this is puberty. Some creatures such as Henkei Stat seem to reference pregnancy, whereas others such as Tokuto-kun have been interpreted as referencing periods. Another side is the interpretation that Medotsky is transgender or struggles with gender identity, either as a trans woman or trans man. She may be afraid of or confused regarding her body, how it's perceived by herself and others. It's pretty clear why some people theorize Medotsky is depressed, anxious, or traumatized, and this can all link back to elements we've discussed before. In one scene, in a location called the Mall, Medotsky can visit an area likened very closely to a doctor's or therapist's office. A figure here gives you the flute effect, which Medotsky can play with them, potentially equating to music therapy. As many areas contain eyes or background elements with eyes, there's an element of anxiety regarding being watched or observed. Hands are another frequent element that may reference a fear of being touched. The whole game can be taken as a reference to isolation. There's no dialogue, no real friendly NPCs, the locations are large, looping, and empty, and many characters simply run away or refuse to interact with you. A good example of this is the Torii Ningen party. Torii Ningen are large bird-like people who chase Medotsky down and shut her in enclosed spaces, forcing her to wake up and return to sleep to continue exploring. They tend to be in groups. The Ningen party is a group of Ningen dancing to music and having a picnic in the wilderness area. Medotsky can't get to them, so she's simply stuck watching from afar. Let's take a look at some major theories people suggest when looking at all these parts as a whole. We discussed the vehicle crash themes earlier. Not only this, but the warped and twisted visages of many of the NPCs adds to the image of people suffering after a vehicle accident. There's also the occasional hospital themes and scatterings of blood and random body parts across certain areas. Potentially, it may be an accident Medotsky caused, which is why she fears scrutiny. She might fear going outside because of the accident, either because of the scrutiny or because of her trauma from the incident. She may have suffered some permanent disfigurement because of it, such as we thought about earlier. And her endgame suicide may be her unable to cope with her life after the accident. Alternatively, she may be in a coma after the accident, and her room may simply be another, more central area of her headspace. She can't leave the door because that represents waking up, and the suicide represents her final death. I think this theory is solid, but it has limited evidence to support it beyond a couple of scattered events. I don't want to go too in-depth into this theory here, as it's obviously pretty dark, but it is one of the more popular theories, so I'll give it an overview. It suggests Medotsky was sexually assaulted in some way prior to the events of the game. This would bring together all the body imagery, plus the blood and gore if it was a violent event, plus the hospital imagery. It explains why Medotsky is afraid to leave her room, and many of the elements of the background, such as the bloody touching monster that appears to grope the environment. It would also bring in the eyes and fear of being observed and having privacy taken away. Kyukyu-kun and the face event are a large part of this theory. A secondary part of this theory adds the suggestion that Medotsky became pregnant from this event but suffered a miscarriage, adding together the body parts and references to pregnancy such as Henkei-shita and potentially the duplicate Medotsky in the closet. Personally, I think this theory is plausible, but I think people tend to make it way more grimdark than it needs to be, and I think other theories are more or equally as plausible. There's a good amount of evidence to put together that Medotsky was bullied or abused. The Ningen are often cited as part of this theory, a group of vaguely feminine creatures that move as units and party together without Medotsky and chase her away when she gets near, are very analogous to school bullies. Again, the therapy office adds to this theory, plus other elements. I think this is very plausible and completely reasonable, but leaves out a lot of elements. Not so much a single theory, but a combination of explanations as to why Medotsky is shut away in her room. One suggests she is in some way violent or dangerous to others, citing the knife effect in the game and the fact that you can attack NPCs. This is completely optional though, and you never have to use the knife to beat the game. Another suggests that she's sick and is isolated to prevent it spreading, bringing together the hospital elements and also the towel effect that makes you sneeze. There's limited evidence to support this one. Looking at all those theories, and those are barely a fraction of the theories people have suggested for this game, what do I think is the most plausible? Well, this is a pretty lame answer, but I don't know. Kikiyama themselves has said the game is up to interpretation and doesn't necessarily have a plot or purpose. I think a lot of the theories are valid and entirely plausible. I also think the game might not really have any meaning, but I like it that way. I think games like this are great for guessing, fan theories, and putting together your own ideas about what it could mean. We're probably never going to get one solid answer, and that's okay. I like it better without. Thanks for watching today's Panopticon Theatre performance. What do you think? Did I miss anything? What do you want me to talk about next? Make sure to sub and join the audience if you want to see more.